Imagine a land untouched by iron or stone walls, a place unspoiled by roads or boundaries. This is North America as it was, before ships ever whispered across the ocean horizon. Here, rivers flowed as pure and clear as melting glaciers, and endless prairies spread to meet skies painted with the colors of dawn. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And as we drift into tonight's tale, I'd love to know, where are you listening from, and what time is it there right now? Let's share this timeless journey together. Now, dim the lights, fluff your pillow, settle into your bed, adjust the brightness and volume of your device, ease your breath, and allow yourself to slip away into a land lost to memory. Picture yourself standing in an emerald forest, sunlight filtering through leaves that have known only the stories told by wind and rain. The air carries scents of cedar, pine, and blooming wildflowers that ancient bees hum around lazily. The trees whisper secrets among themselves, secrets of the creatures who walked these woods long before human footsteps arrived. To the north, in the lands now known as Canada, lakes stretch far and wide like mirrors reflecting the heavens. These waters teem with fish, shimmering beneath the moonlight. Moose and elk move gracefully among shadowy pines, their hooves tapping rhythmic music upon the earth, adding harmony to this symphony of nature. Across the continent, from the Appalachian peaks to the Sierra Nevada, indigenous people flourished, building lives in harmony with the land. Tribes such as the Cherokee, Lakota, Pueblo, and Anishinaabe cultivated relationships with earth and sky, understanding that the world around them was not merely land, but a living, breathing entity. You can almost hear drums echoing through valleys, resonant beats merging with the heartbeats of every living thing around. In this untouched world, stories filled the nights around crackling fires, illuminating smiling faces. Legends spoke of spirit animals and mystical beings that walked hidden paths in moonlit shadows, revealing truths and wisdoms to those patient enough to listen. Speaking of patience, imagine an elder storyteller pausing for dramatic effect, his voice rich with humor. Now, did you know raccoons were considered clever tricksters? They still haven't learned not to rummage through everything, have they? Laughter bubbles warmly among listeners, easing into the next legend about how corn came to the people, or how fire was discovered by brave souls guided by spirit guardians. In this tapestry of tribal traditions, the people lived aware of their profound connection with nature. Fields of corn, squash, and beans thrived together in harmony, a practice historians often call the Three Sisters, a farming method still admired and debated today. Indeed, scholars still explore how widespread and deeply embedded these agricultural practices truly were across varying tribes. Farther south, sprawling deserts offered their own beauty, vast stretches of sand dotted with resilient plants whispering myths of survival under sunlit skies. The ancestral Puebloans crafted homes of stone within cliffsides at Mesa Verde, high above the ground, their dwellings blending seamlessly into the landscape. Visitors today marvel at their ingenuity, wondering about the civilization's mysterious disappearance. Historians still argue whether drought, internal conflicts, or spiritual visions led them to leave their homes behind, leaving us a puzzle to contemplate. Along the coasts, rich ocean waters provided bounty for tribes like the Chumash, who carved sleek boats from driftwood, exploring currents guided by stars. Here, myths told of dolphins who helped lost travelers, and whales who spoke truths to those brave enough to listen. It's said that on nights quiet enough, the echoes of whale song still rise from these shores. As evening cloaks the land, creatures settle, stars awaken, and shadows deepen across valleys and peaks. This peaceful North America thrives untouched, balanced by nature's hand. It is a world guided not by conquest or ambition, but by a simple, profound respect for the rhythms of the earth. Leaving behind vast forests and coastlines, let yourself wander now into the southwest, a place where sandstone cliffs rise from dusty earth, tinted orange by centuries beneath a desert sun. This land is the home of the ancestral Puebloans, sometimes known as the Anasazi, who crafted lives both practical and profoundly mystical. Here, at Mesa Verde in present-day Colorado, dwellings nestle high upon cliff faces. Like beehives sculpted by skilled hands, these ancient homes cling to stone walls, seeming almost to float. Imagine standing beneath these great canyons, eyes tracing walls peppered with small windows, carved from living rock long before iron tools ever reached these shores. Life here moved in rhythmic harmony with the elements. At sunrise, shadows retreated across stone floors, revealing intricate pottery, vibrant murals, and woven baskets meticulously created from yucca fibers. Historians often wonder how these early artisans developed such intricate skills without modern tools, admiring craftsmanship preserved in desert silence. As evening approached, families gathered around communal fires. Elders shared stories, passing down wisdom from one generation to the next. One legend spoke of Sky Father and Earth Mother, whose eternal embrace created the world, teaching humans the careful balance needed to maintain harmony in life. Children giggled at playful tales of coyotes and rabbits, tricksters who carried valuable lessons behind their mischievous adventures. Yet within these quiet canyons lay mysteries that remain unsolved. Around the late 13th century, for reasons debated among historians even now, the ancestral Puebloans began to leave their cliff homes behind. Some scholars suggest drought or shifting climates pushed them from their beloved dwellings. Others propose internal strife or even spiritual callings beckoned them elsewhere. The exact truth is hidden behind the veils of time. One story, whispered through generations, suggests the people heard a call from distant lands, guided by spirits that appeared in dreams. They followed visions toward new homes in other places, ensuring their culture would thrive elsewhere, rather than fade completely. While theories continue to drift among scholars, it's certain these remarkable cliff dwellings were carefully abandoned. Pots remained intact, grain stores neatly arranged, as if the inhabitants planned someday to return, or perhaps left carefully in respect for the spirits inhabiting their homes. Further south, the Hopi and Zuni people recount how their ancestors arrived in present lands, guided by stars and spiritual beings. Legends speak of kachinas, sacred spirits who came from mountains and clouds, teaching people farming techniques, ceremonial dances, and moral laws to guide their communities. It's easy to smile picturing masked dancers swirling gracefully in circles, colourful feathers swaying as drums and rattles filled desert air with sound. These dances were not mere entertainment, they served as bridges between the human world and spiritual realms. Watching them, even today, brings about a tranquil awe, reminding us how closely intertwined life was with unseen dimensions. And let's not forget pottery. Clay vessels decorated with geometric patterns symbolize rivers, mountains, and the flow of life itself. Historians remain fascinated by how traditions passed down orally maintained intricate styles through generations. An intriguing fringe theory suggests certain designs carry astronomical meanings, hidden star maps pointing toward cosmic events or guiding planting cycles. Historians still argue whether such interpretations hold truth or simply romantic imagination. The desert night carries a cool embrace, stars piercing darkness like tiny lamps. In these quiet hours, spirits move unseen, reminding villagers of their deep connection to the cosmos. Fires burn low, their glowing embers creating reflections on rock walls, while mothers whisper comforting lullabies, weaving dreams into sleep. Perhaps tonight you imagine yourself sitting by one of these ancient hearths, feeling the warmth of community, listening to stories, laughing at trickster tales. Or perhaps you stand outside beneath the vast clear sky, wondering at mysteries left behind, at puzzles historians and dreamers alike continue to explore. In time, desert sands reclaim footprints, wind and rain eroding walls of abandoned dwellings. Yet beneath these stars, memories remain vivid, preserved within the sandstone cliffs themselves. Leaving behind the cliff dwellings, your journey now guides you eastward into the heartland of North America, to vast expanses of woodlands and hills. Here, ancient people known as the woodland cultures built societies flourishing beneath sunlit skies and star-filled nights. Among them stood the great city of Cahokia, near modern-day St. Louis, a place of grassy mounds and ceremonial plazas, vibrant with mystery and life. Imagine stepping across dew-laden grass in early morning, the sun rising above earthen hills. These mounds, some modest, others grand, were crafted carefully, basketful by basketful of earth, shaped by human hands over generations. They rose like tranquil islands above the landscape, marking sacred sites, homes, and gathering places. From atop Monk's Mound, the tallest mound in Cahokia, elders would stand, observing the vastness of their thriving civilization below. At its peak, Cahokia was home to thousands, with a bustling marketplace, plazas filled with people exchanging goods, and fields rich with crops nurtured by the land's generosity. Archaeologists have discovered shells from distant oceans and copper from the far north, suggesting an expansive trade network that historians still debate today. How far did their influence truly stretch, and what secrets remain hidden beneath layers of soil? Legends of the mound builders speak through generations, stories of ancestors who aligned these structures carefully with celestial events. Scholars today continue to discuss how precisely Cahokia's mounds correspond to sunrises, sunsets, and starry constellations, wondering whether these alignments held profound spiritual meanings or merely practical significance for agriculture. One ancient legend shared among the woodland people told of the Great Serpent, a cosmic being whose form shaped hills and valleys, rivers and streams. The Serpent Mound, found further east in Ohio, mirrors this tale, a curving shape carved into earth, a mystical symbol that scholars ponder even today. What exactly does it represent? Is it a celestial pathway, a deity's symbol, or simply a beautiful, deliberate expression of harmony with nature? As midday sun warmed the earth, community life flowed peacefully through villages. People gathered berries and nuts, hunted deer and turkey, their lives synchronized with nature's abundance. Laughter often echoed from riversides where canoes drifted lazily, filled with fishers casting nets into waters sparkling in sunlight. Elders taught the young through storytelling, sharing practical lessons woven carefully into tales of animals and spirits. Imagine listening now as a grandmother weaves a tale of a clever fox whose tricks and cunning helped villagers understand the importance of honesty. Or perhaps a grandfather, his eyes twinkling humorously, recounting how the raccoon first learned to wash its food, a whimsical legend blending wisdom with playful insight. These stories, passed down through generations, were not merely entertainment, but vital lessons guiding the community's morals and values. Intriguingly, archaeologists have found evidence of ancient rituals involving precious stones, symbolic figurines, and mysterious pottery designs. Historians still ponder their exact meanings, debating whether they represent spiritual visions, practical tools for communication, or purely artistic expressions of creativity. Each artifact whispers its secrets, inviting endless curiosity. With evening approaching, fires were lit in ceremonial plazas, their flames casting flickering shadows across mounds and faces of gathered villagers. Songs rose into twilight, voices blending harmoniously beneath skies painted deep purple and orange by sunset's final glow. Dances, performed in circles, echoed movements passed down through generations, inviting spirits of ancestors to join and guide their paths. Such gatherings celebrated seasons, harvests, or simply the sacred rhythms of life itself. The woodland cultures knew deeply the value of community, harmony, and the interconnectedness of all living things. In these gatherings, everyone, from smallest child to wisest elder, felt their integral role within the great cycle of life. Yet as years drifted forward, Cahokia, like other mound-building cities, eventually quieted, its people dispersing to smaller communities and new homelands. Historians debate about the reasons behind this change, shifting climates, resource scarcity, or perhaps spiritual calls guiding them toward new lands. While reasons remain hidden in time's embrace, the legacy left behind remains clear, an elegant testament to a civilization deeply connected to earth, sky, and spirit. Now your journey carries you toward the northwestern shores, into the verdant realm of forests that stretch endlessly toward the sea. Here, beneath towering cedars and hemlocks, the people of the Pacific Northwest flourished in harmony with waters abundant in fish and skies filled with birds. In this lush and tranquil landscape, history interweaves gracefully with myth, inviting wonder. Picture yourself beneath trees whose heights challenge the imagination, their trunks wide enough to shelter entire families. Sunlight filters through dense canopies, creating mosaics of golden-green patterns dancing across the forest floor. The air carries scents of pine resin, fresh moss, and the distant salt of ocean waves lapping peacefully upon pebble-covered beaches. The native tribes here, including the Tlingit, Haida, and Kwakwaka'wakw, crafted lives deeply rooted in respect and gratitude toward nature's generous offerings. Villages nestled carefully between trees and ocean shores, their houses made from rich cedar planks and decorated with intricate carvings. Towering above, totem poles rose gracefully, their figures vibrant with stories of ancestry, spiritual beings, and tribal histories carved into wood. Historians marvel at these remarkable poles, intrigued by symbols carefully selected to convey family lineage or recount legendary encounters. But debates persist regarding deeper meanings. Could these carvings also record celestial events or symbolize complex social relationships in ways still undiscovered? Such mysteries continue to capture imaginations, bridging past and present in silent contemplation. In these forested realms, the raven held a place of prominence in myths. A playful yet profound trickster, Raven was both creator and bringer of knowledge. One legend tells how Raven, clever and resourceful, stole the sun itself to illuminate the world. This tale, narrated with humor around countless firesides, speaks volumes about ingenuity, daring, and the delicate balance of power between creatures and spirits. Fishing sustained life along these shores, and stories celebrated the annual return of salmon, a profound event seen as a spiritual renewal. Villages gathered eagerly as salmon surged upstream, shimmering beneath sunlight as if bearing liquid silver. Ceremonies greeted their arrival, elders offering gratitude through ritual songs that blended seamlessly with rhythmic drumming. Among whispered tales is that of Salmon Boy, a young villager who, after disrespecting the salmon, was taken beneath the waves by the fish themselves. He returned transformed, embodying a lesson taught by the spirits. Respect must accompany abundance, always. This legend, both whimsical and profound, served as a reminder of the interconnectedness of all life. As twilight deepens, imagine drifting silently along these coastal waters in a carved canoe. Swells lift and lower your boat, the ocean murmuring its timeless stories. A humorous thought crosses your mind, those Pacific otters floating nearby, paws clasped lazily upon their bellies, seem far wiser than they let on. And speaking of fringe curiosities, did you know historians have uncovered evidence of sophisticated trading networks stretching along these coastal regions, reaching inland and even down to California? Precious shells, stones and tools traveled vast distances, carried by hands carefully guiding canoes over ocean currents. Debates persist about how expansive these networks truly were, sparking endless fascination among scholars eager to understand these complex relationships. Communities here thrived through sharing and generosity, evident in the tradition of potlatch ceremonies. These gatherings celebrated significant life events, marriages, births, and alliances through elaborate feasts and gift-giving. Hosts demonstrated wealth not by what they accumulated, but by what they gave away. It's easy to imagine smiles exchanged freely amid joyous celebration, laughter rising warmly among guests, bonds strengthened through generosity's timeless power. Yet, as evening wraps these coastal forests within shadows, life settles into peaceful routines. Families gather near hearths glowing warmly with cedar-scented fires, their stories echoing into the night. Elders speak of times past, guiding younger generations with wisdom shaped through experience, lessons blending myth and practical insight effortlessly. Leaving behind the misty forests of the northwest, your journey now draws you into the warmth of the southwest deserts. Here, beneath expansive skies of sapphire blue, the Navajo and Hopi people carefully shaped lives woven intricately with myth, artistry, and deep spirituality. Imagine standing on a mesa's edge, overlooking vast expanses dotted with sagebrush and cactus. The sun warms your face, while distant mountains blur into soft purple silhouettes against the horizon. Below, desert sands shift with the breeze, whispering secrets to anyone patient enough to listen. Here, pottery and weaving were far more than crafts. They represented a sacred connection to land and spirit. Navajo women spent hours weaving exquisite blankets from hand-spun wool, colored with dyes from plants carefully gathered across the desert. Patterns emerged with precision, symbols woven intentionally, each design holding quiet significance. A historian might wonder how such sophisticated techniques and vibrant colors were achieved with only the simplest tools. A beloved Navajo legend speaks of Spider Woman, a divine spirit who taught the people the sacred art of weaving. It is said Spider Woman herself spun the universe into existence, her web creating patterns of stars and galaxies. She imparted the wisdom of weaving to humanity, reminding them that life, too, is woven carefully, each choice and action threading together into something meaningful and beautiful. With humor and subtle wisdom, elders recounted tales of Coyote, the eternal trickster, whose adventures amused both young and old. In one favorite story, Coyote attempts to weave a blanket to impress Spider-Woman, only to find himself hopelessly tangled. Laughter rippled warmly among listeners, but beneath amusement lay a lesson. Patience, humility, and respect are essential threads in the fabric of life. Hopi villages perched atop mesas, overlooking lands cultivated carefully with corn, beans, and squash, the sacred Three Sisters. The Hopis' intricate ceremonies revolved around agriculture, the rhythms of seasons guiding their lives. Rain dances, carefully choreographed, invited clouds to nourish dry earth, reminding the community of their intimate dependence on nature's generosity. Scholarly debates swirl around the Hopis' precise understanding of astronomy and timekeeping. Did their complex ceremonial calendar emerge from careful observation of celestial events, or was it deeply rooted in spiritual revelation? Historians still ponder these questions, appreciating the sophisticated blend of practicality and mysticism that defined Hopi culture. Imagine yourself seated around a fire, evening breezes cooling the day's lingering heat. Elders speak, their voices calm and wise, telling stories of Katsinam, benevolent spirits who visited villages during ceremonial seasons, bringing blessings and guiding humanity's paths. Katsinam dancers moved with grace, their masks vividly painted, embodying spirits whose roles ranged from fertility and rain to justice and healing. Fringe theories propose intriguing connections between these ceremonial masks and distant cultures, suggesting ancient trade or migration patterns still hidden from historical understanding. While historians debate, the Hopi themselves simply smiled knowingly. For them, spiritual truths needed no external validation. Desert nights brought clear skies adorned richly with stars. The Milky Way stretched across heavens like Spider-Woman's finest weaving, glimmering in the dark. Children lay upon blankets, gazing upward, listening as elders traced constellations with whispered stories of creation and balance. They learned that every star was an ancestor's spirit, watching over their journey through life. Throughout these desert lands, every object held meaning, each action intentional. Pottery vessels carefully shaped with symbols of water, life, and fertility reflected a harmonious relationship between practicality and spirituality. Clay vessels discovered by archaeologists still whisper their mysteries, leaving historians endlessly curious about the depth of symbolism encoded within their intricate designs. And as dawn brightens the eastern horizon, mesas glow, their red and golden cliffs illuminated by first light. Villagers awaken, greeting the new day with reverence, preparing tasks that maintain balance within their world. Life flows gracefully here, guided by ancient wisdom passed down through generations, each sunrise bringing opportunities to honor traditions cherished deeply. Your path carries you now onto the broad, open expanse of the Great Plains, a place where the sky seems impossibly vast, arching overhead like a painted dome that never ends. Here, golden grasses sway rhythmically, creating waves that stretch endlessly toward distant horizons. It was across these expansive fields that countless buffalo roamed, their quiet thunder resonating with life itself. Tribes like the Lakota, Cheyenne, Arapaho, and Pawnee thrived on this land, living in balance with its abundance. Imagine yourself among them, standing beneath skies filled with billowing clouds drifting leisurely overhead. The wind whispers through prairie grass, carrying with it stories of life and legend, secrets murmured by earth and sky alike. Buffalo were at the heart of life here, providing food, clothing, shelter, and tools. Villagers understood deeply the sacred bond that connected their existence with these mighty creatures. They hunted respectfully, using every part of the animal, mindful of gratitude toward the spirits who sustained their communities. Historians note the remarkable efficiency of the tribe's lifestyle, marveling at how their sustainable practices preserved the delicate prairie ecosystem for generations. But there remain scholarly debates over precisely how these tribes coordinated large buffalo hunts, skillfully orchestrating their efforts without modern tools or communication. It remains a puzzle historians enjoy exploring, recognizing the tribe's profound ingenuity and harmony with nature. A beloved Lakota legend recounts the visit of White Buffalo Calf Woman, a sacred figure who appeared to villagers long ago, wrapped in a radiant, pure white robe. Her arrival symbolized renewal and spiritual awakening. She gifted the people a sacred pipe, carefully instructing them in rituals and prayers that maintained harmony among humans, animals, and spirits. Her words, rare and profound, still echo through generations. All living things are connected. When you pray, remember your prayers touch every creature and stone, every tree and river. Such teachings reminded the tribes of their interdependence with the world around them, a lesson as meaningful today as it was centuries ago. Humor also played a quiet, essential role in daily life. Elders shared playful tales of tricksters like Iktomi, the spider spirit whose amusing antics taught subtle lessons of wisdom and humility. Imagine laughter rising warmly as children listened wide-eyed to stories of Iktomi's adventures, his clever plans often comically unraveling, an amusing yet instructive reflection of human nature's imperfections. Life on the plains moved gracefully through seasonal cycles. In warmer months, tribes traveled freely across the landscape, setting up teepee villages near fresh water sources. The simplicity and efficiency of teepee construction impressed early visitors and historians alike, marveling at structures easily dismantled and carried by horses, enabling tribes to follow buffalo herds effortlessly. Winter brought a quieter rhythm, tribes settling in sheltered areas protected from harsh winds. Fires burned warmly within teepees, families gathering closely to share stories and songs that brightened long, cold nights. In these tranquil moments, wisdom passed between generations, elders guiding younger members along paths marked by tradition and respect. It was during these quiet winters that beadwork flourished, colourful patterns stitched carefully into clothing and blankets, each design holding significance. Fringe theories even proposed certain bead patterns carried coded messages, guiding hunters or warriors. Historians debate about these ideas, fascinated by the subtle layers of meaning possibly hidden within this artistry. Across these vast lands, life maintained a quiet balance, each action guided thoughtfully by respect, humility, and gratitude. The Plains tribes recognized their role as stewards of a delicate ecosystem, their careful practices ensuring that the land remained abundant for future generations. As twilight descends upon these sweeping prairies, imagine yourself standing among golden grasses, feeling their sway brush against your fingertips. The distant sound of buffalo hooves resonates faintly, blending rhythmically with the steady pulse of nature itself. Stars begin to emerge, their twinkling light reflecting in your eyes, mirroring ancient skies gazed upon by countless generations before. Your journey now shifts eastward, moving into the soft embrace of the Appalachian Mountains, a place where misty peaks rise gracefully above valleys painted lush with green. Here, beneath a canopy of ancient oaks, maples, and chestnuts, the Cherokee and other woodland people lived in close communion with nature, crafting lives in tune with Earth's rhythms. Imagine stepping lightly along forest paths blanketed with fallen leaves. Morning fog hangs like a silken veil, embracing trees whose branches arch skyward in graceful patterns. Birds serenade dawn's arrival, their melodies blending seamlessly with the trickling whispers of hidden streams. In these quiet Appalachian forests, herbs and plants thrived, many holding medicinal qualities carefully utilized by native healers. Cherokee medicine was sophisticated, yet intimately connected to nature. Knowledge passed subtly through generations, elders teaching the young how to identify plants by their leaves, scent, or delicate blossoms. Historians marvel at the extensive botanical wisdom held by these communities, pondering how such precise understanding evolved. Quirkily enough, the Cherokee maintained elaborate gardens where plants like echinacea, ginseng, and golden seal grew, plants still widely respected in modern herbal medicine. Some historians speculate whether these gardens also served as spiritual gathering places, hidden meanings encoded within plant arrangements. Such theories intrigue scholars, inviting ongoing exploration and thoughtful contemplation. Legends permeated daily life, breathing subtle magic into ordinary moments. Elders recounted tales of mysterious beings inhabiting Appalachian woods, benevolent spirits guiding hunters, or mischievous creatures playing harmless tricks upon travelers. One charming legend spoke of the little people, tiny beings who lived hidden among rocks and roots, offering aid or playful mischief, depending on their whims. Children listened wide-eyed to stories describing these elusive figures, giggling at humorous anecdotes about misplaced items or mysteriously tangled hair, blamed playfully on the little people. Yet beneath amusement lay subtle lessons, encouraging respect for unseen mysteries and humility toward the natural world's secrets. Communities here lived harmoniously, families building homes carefully from logs and bark, their villages blending gracefully with surrounding forests. Harvests were celebrated joyfully, abundant crops shared generously among neighbors, strengthening bonds within communities. Elders often smiled knowingly, reminding villagers that true wealth came from friendship and generosity rather than material possessions alone. The Cherokee created ceremonies honoring seasonal transitions. Ritual dances performed beneath moonlit skies, their movements graceful and symbolic. Songs rose, voices blending melodiously with rhythmic drum beats, inviting spiritual blessings upon villagers' daily tasks. Such gatherings reaffirmed communal harmony, celebrating interconnectedness and reminding each person of their integral role within the village. Historians continue to debate about Cherokee social structures, fascinated by evidence suggesting an egalitarian society where women held significant authority, particularly in agriculture and council decisions. While historians explore these intriguing nuances, Cherokee elders simply smile, recognizing wisdom in balanced leadership that honored all voices equally. Imagine yourself seated comfortably beside a small fire, warmth illuminating faces gathered close. Elders share tales of creation, describing how Great Buzzard shaped mountains and valleys with his mighty wings, carefully carving landscapes that villagers now call home. This whimsical yet profound myth reminds listeners of humanity's role within nature, stewards and caretakers rather than conquerors. Fringe theories occasionally suggest Appalachian myths and symbols hint at lost contacts or ancient trade networks linking distant cultures. Historians debate these ideas, carefully weighing intriguing possibilities against historical evidence. Whether such connections existed remains uncertain, yet these mysteries only enrich the region's captivating allure. Evening descends upon Appalachian forests, shadows deepening gradually beneath trees whispering among themselves. Stars awaken slowly overhead, their glow illuminating mist-covered valleys. Fireflies drift silently, their tiny lights flickering like tiny lanterns guiding travelers home. In these peaceful hours, villagers rest within their homes, fires burning, their glow casting reflections upon wooden walls. Parents whisper lullabies, voices comforting children whose dreams soon fill with playful visions of little people's mischief or great buzzards soaring flight across skies painted with dawn's hues. Tonight, your thoughts drift through these ancient forests, mindful of wisdom carefully shared, mysteries preserved, and laughter echoing through time. Carry with you the peaceful spirit of these Appalachian woods, reminders whispered by elders that harmony, kindness, and quiet humility remain forever timeless guides along your journey. Drifting now further southward, your journey carries you toward the lush landscapes of the southeast woodlands, where the Creek, Seminole, Choctaw, and Chickasaw tribes created vibrant communities. Imagine a land abundant in rivers, meadows, and forests, whose generous bounty provided comfort, nourishment, and endless inspiration. Here, life blossomed harmoniously. Villages lay nestled along the edges of winding rivers, shaded by majestic oaks draped elegantly in curtains of Spanish moss. Each dawn, sunlight filtered through the foliage, waking villagers who rose to greet the day with appreciation. The air was rich with scents of magnolia blossoms and jasmine, sweet fragrances drifting lightly upon breezes. Agriculture flourished here, with fields of corn, squash, and beans carefully tended by skilled hands. The tribes practiced sustainable methods, ensuring that Earth's generosity was respected and preserved. Historians marvel at these sophisticated farming techniques, reflecting on how such wisdom developed and passed through generations. Some debates remain ongoing, questioning whether external influences from distant cultures might have subtly shaped agricultural practices in the Southeast, an intriguing mystery still unresolved. Legends, carefully woven into everyday life, celebrated the deep connection between humanity and nature. Among the Creek people, Rabbit was revered as both trickster and teacher. Tales humorously recounted Rabbit's clever escapades, his cunning providing lessons about intelligence, humility, and the importance of wit over brute force. In one charming story, Rabbit outsmarts Bear, playfully convincing him to guard a patch of berries while Rabbit eats his fill elsewhere. Children laughed heartily at Bear's humorous confusion, yet subtly absorbed wisdom about resourcefulness and cleverness. Elders smiled knowingly, recognizing how playful stories imparted moral lessons more effectively than stern lectures ever could. The Choctaw also cherished stories of animal tricksters. Raccoon, whose curiosity and resourcefulness often led to comedic outcomes, frequently appeared in narratives teaching lessons about moderation and cooperation. Such whimsical tales reminded villagers that joy and wisdom often coexist within life's ordinary moments. Trade flourished across these lands, villages exchanging goods generously along rivers and woodland paths. Historians debate about the extent of these trade networks, intrigued by artifacts discovered far from their original sources. Seashells from distant shores, stone tools crafted hundreds of miles away. These discoveries invite contemplation about how interconnected these seemingly remote communities truly were. Ceremonial gatherings celebrated seasonal changes, harvests, and significant life events. Music rose into the twilight, drums and rattles blending harmoniously with voices raised in song. Dances, gracefully choreographed, expressed gratitude toward nature's abundance and reaffirmed bonds within communities. Such celebrations reinforced values of cooperation, generosity, and reverence for life's interconnectedness. Even today, historians debate the precise meanings encoded within certain ceremonial dances and rituals, fascinated by the subtle symbolism expressed through movement and song. Fringe theories occasionally suggest these dances communicated historical events or celestial knowledge, possibilities inviting quiet curiosity and thoughtful reflection. Life moved gracefully through seasons. Summers brought vibrant activity, fishing trips along riverbanks shaded by towering cypress trees, playful splashes of children cooling themselves in shallow streams, and community meals shared generously beneath shelters woven skillfully from palm leaves and branches. Winters encouraged quiet reflection, families gathering comfortably around fires burning in central village plazas. Elders spoke, their voices calming, recounting histories and legends guiding younger generations toward wisdom and kindness. Children listened, nestled close, imaginations drifting into realms filled with animal spirits, clever tricksters, and peaceful woodland adventures. Imagine yourself seated among them, warmth from glowing embers illuminating smiling faces. The soft murmur of stories mingles harmoniously with occasional laughter, a reminder that storytelling is humanity's timeless gift, connecting generations through shared joy and subtle wisdom. As night deepens, the forest around villages quiets into serene stillness. Stars begin appearing, their light filtering through branches, illuminating quiet paths homeward. Crickets sing rhythmically, blending with distant owl calls, a lullaby composed by nature herself. Tonight, as your mind wanders these peaceful southeastern woodlands, hold within your heart lessons shared by playful rabbit and curious raccoon. Remember the wisdom whispered carefully by elders, reminders encouraging kindness, resourcefulness, and harmony with nature's rhythms. And as you move serenely onward through your journey, let the peaceful spirit of these verdant forests guide you, illuminating paths ahead. Your journey now takes you northeast, into a region of deep forests, tranquil lakes, and rolling hills, the homeland of the Iroquois Confederacy. Here, 5 great nations, the Mohawk, Oneida, Onondaga, Cayuga, and Seneca, formed a remarkable alliance built on cooperation, respect, and a peaceful pursuit of common good. Imagine yourself moving through this serene landscape beneath towering maple and birch trees whose leaves rustle in the breeze. Streams meander lazily, reflecting dappled sunlight through branches overhead. Wildflowers bloom along paths, painting the earth with soft hues of purple, gold, and white, as bees hum contentedly among petals. The Iroquois lived in communal longhouses, structures carefully built from wood and bark, capable of sheltering extended families comfortably beneath their sturdy roofs. Life within these homes moved harmoniously, children playing, elders weaving baskets and recounting stories, women carefully preparing meals and tending communal gardens. The Confederacy itself, founded long before Europeans arrived, was guided by principles emphasizing unity and peaceful coexistence. Historians marvel at this sophisticated political system, recognizing it as one of the earliest democracies in human history. But debates persist among scholars about precisely when and how the Confederacy formed, creating intrigue and curiosity. Central to the Confederacy's formation was the great peacemaker, Daganoweda, and his companion Hiawatha. According to legend, Daganoweda traveled tirelessly among warring tribes, advocating peace and unity. His voice, though rarely raised, carried profound wisdom, encouraging former adversaries to put aside hostility in favor of friendship and cooperation. A beloved story recounts how Daganoweda convinced leaders of opposing tribes to bury their weapons beneath a great tree of peace, symbolizing unity and the end of conflicts. This legendary tree, often depicted with roots extending outward in 4 directions, continues to inspire as a powerful symbol of harmony and peaceful coexistence. Humorous anecdotes occasionally circulated, teasing certain leaders who initially resisted Daganoweda's peaceful message. One playful tale told how a stubborn chief, skeptical of peace, found his objections humorously undermined when a small bird landed upon his shoulder during negotiations, singing sweetly as if urging him to listen carefully. Listeners chuckled warmly at this reminder that sometimes wisdom arrives in unexpected forms. Fringe theories sometimes suggest the Iroquois Confederacy influenced early American democratic ideas, possibilities debated by historians. While the depth of such influence remains uncertain, it undeniably highlights the Confederacy's sophisticated governance structure that continues to inspire thoughtful reflection. Seasonal ceremonies punctuated life, celebrating harvests, renewals, and the interconnectedness of community and nature. Songs rose into evening skies, drums resonating beneath stars, dances expressing gratitude and reverence toward Earth's generosity. Each ceremony reinforced bonds between tribes, nurturing unity that endured across generations. Agriculture was central, fields planted carefully with corn, beans, and squash, the sacred Three Sisters, reflecting a harmonious balance respected deeply by the Iroquois. Historians still debate whether these farming methods originated independently among different cultures or spread gradually through trade networks, adding layers of quiet intrigue to scholarly discussions. Evening often brought families together around communal fires within longhouses, their glow illuminating faces gathered closely. Elders spoke, sharing stories passed carefully through generations, tales of animals whose adventures carried subtle moral lessons, or histories recounting heroes who embodied courage, kindness, and wisdom. Imagine yourself seated comfortably, warmth wrapping around you, listening closely as an elder narrates. Perhaps he recounts how Turtle, wise and patient, taught villagers the value of steady perseverance, humorously contrasted with energetic Rabbit, whose haste often created amusing misadventures. Laughter echoes, reinforcing wisdom through joyful storytelling. Night settles over the Iroquois lands, forests breathing beneath starlit skies. Villagers rest peacefully within their homes, comforted by communal bonds carefully cultivated over generations. Outside, owls call rhythmically, blending harmoniously with the distant rustling of leaves, a quiet reminder that nature itself participates in this serene tapestry of life. Tonight, as your mind drifts through these tranquil northeastern forests, hold within your thoughts the peaceful teachings of Daganawida and Hiawatha. Remember the laughter echoing through time, stories carefully shared by elders whose wisdom remains timeless. Now your journey leads westward to the expansive lands of the Great Basin, a vast and serene region of deserts, valleys, and sloping mountains. Here, beneath clear, endless skies, the Paiute and Shoshone people thrived, their lives deeply intertwined with the subtle rhythms of an arid yet generous landscape. Picture yourself standing beneath a sky so expansive it humbles the imagination, horizons stretching endlessly, touched by distant mountain peaks. The earth here speaks, marked by open plains, delicate sagebrush, and hills whose shapes ripple beneath sunlight. The air carries subtle fragrances, sage, juniper, and desert flowers blooming briefly but brilliantly after rare rains. Life in the Great Basin flowed, guided by cycles of season and weather. Water was precious, villagers carefully locating settlements near springs or small streams trickling from hidden mountain sources. Historians admire the ingenuity required to thrive in such an environment, marveling at the resourcefulness displayed by tribes who skillfully managed scarce resources. Central to village life was the gathering of pine nuts, a staple food harvested each autumn. Families worked carefully together beneath towering pinyon pines, shaking cones onto blankets spread carefully below. Laughter drifted warmly among villagers, joyfully shared tasks, reminding everyone of the value placed on community and cooperation. Humorous stories often recounted playful encounters with local wildlife, jackrabbits whose curious nature led them humorously into mischief, or coyotes, clever tricksters whose adventures amused listeners while subtly imparting valuable lessons. One amusing tale told how Coyote cleverly tricked Owl into revealing secrets about hidden water sources, leaving Owl annoyed but villagers gratefully enriched. Such stories, playfully shared, reinforced the value of cleverness, respect, and humor. Legends of the Great Basin also spoke of powerful spiritual beings. Among them was Coyote, whose humorous exploits were balanced by deeper roles as creator and teacher. One revered story describes Coyote shaping the land, creating lakes, mountains, and valleys through trickery and playful imagination, a myth reminding listeners of creativity's profound power. Historians debate about how these legends evolved, intrigued by subtle variations in stories across tribes. Fringe theories occasionally suggest hidden meanings encoded within mythological tales, celestial events or historical migrations subtly disguised in narrative form. Such possibilities invite curiosity, adding layers of intrigue to already captivating stories. Daily life moved harmoniously, families carefully crafting tools, baskets, and clothing from available resources, reeds from marshy areas, hides cured from animals respectfully hunted. The Paiute and Shoshone crafted elegant baskets, tightly woven and beautifully patterned, admired today by historians for both artistry and practicality. Scholarly debates continue about basket weaving techniques, exploring whether specific designs held symbolic meanings still hidden from modern understanding. These mysteries invite thoughtful contemplation, reminding us of history's subtle complexities. Evenings brought families together around small fires glowing, their warmth comforting against cool desert nights. Elders spoke, recounting stories of ancestors whose wisdom and courage guided current generations through life's challenges. Children listened closely, imaginations drifting through deserts populated by playful tricksters, wise teachers, and peaceful landscapes echoing with timeless lessons. Imagine yourself seated among them, the firelight flickering across faces smiling warmly. Perhaps an elder narrates a humorous tale about Coyote's latest adventure, laughter rising among listeners, reinforcing the subtle joys embedded within life's ordinary moments. Above, the desert sky reveals itself, stars emerging from deepening twilight. The Milky Way stretches overhead, its countless stars illuminating a vastness humbling yet comforting. Villagers understood deeply that they were part of something greater, interconnected balance that sustained life across this serene landscape. Tonight, as your mind drifts through the Great Basin's quiet valleys and peaceful plains, hold within your heart the lessons whispered by playful Coyote, wisdom shared carefully by elders, and subtle laughter echoing through time. Remember always the resourcefulness and quiet respect shown by the Paiute and Shoshone people, recognizing their timeless reminder that harmony, community, and humor remain forever intertwined, guiding your path onward. The path now curves north toward the icy edges of the continent, where snow and silence stretch endlessly across frozen earth. You've entered the vast wilderness of the Arctic, where the Inuit people have lived for thousands of years, thriving in conditions that might seem unforgiving to most, yet offering its own quiet beauty to those who learn to listen. Here, beneath a sky heavy with auroras and clouds, the land glows with icy light. Imagine standing on the snowy tundra, the wind brushing past your face like a memory from another world. The only sounds are the crunch of your footsteps and the occasional call of a raven circling far above. Everything feels still, yet alive, subtle rhythms hiding beneath the frozen silence. The Inuit built homes that mirrored the landscape, igloos crafted from blocks of snow that held in warmth and light, and, during the warmer months, sod houses nestled into hillsides. Inside, families gathered close, sharing stories, meals, and laughter as the cold wrapped itself outside their walls. Life moved at a rhythm dictated by nature, and everything had its place, its meaning, its quiet significance. Historians admire the remarkable ingenuity of Inuit technology, tools fashioned from bone, driftwood, and stone, kayaks stitched from sealskin, and harpoons balanced with both function and respect for the life being taken. There's even a light smile to be found in some of the earliest snow goggles, crafted from caribou antler or driftwood, with thin slits to block the glare of the sun on snow, arguably the earliest form of sunglasses. Food was gathered not through farming, but through deep knowledge of sea and ice. The Inuit knew where to find seal breathing holes in the frozen surface, how to read the currents beneath shifting ice, and when to travel inland to hunt caribou or gather berries. It was a way of life that required patience, awareness, and the careful handing down of knowledge across generations. And with every hunt, every journey across ice, came stories, legends etched into memory like carvings on bone. Among the most revered was the tale of Sedna, the Sea Mother. In one version of the myth, Sedna was a young woman who lived with her father and refused every suitor who came. Angered, her father threw her into the sea, where her fingers froze and became sea creatures, seals, whales, walrus. She descended into the depths, becoming the goddess of the ocean, keeper of its creatures and the spirits of those who pass through her realm. Inuit shamans, known as Angakuk, would travel spiritually to Sedna's watery domain when animals became scarce, hoping to appease her and restore the balance between humans and the sea. These journeys were not taken lightly. The shaman would wear carved bone talismans, speak in rhythmic chants, and enter deep trances to negotiate with the powerful sea mother. Historians still debate the origins and evolution of these rituals, intrigued by their complexity and subtle variations across different Inuit groups. And then, of course, there were the stories meant to guide behavior. One favorite among children warned of the kalupalik, a mysterious creature that lived beneath the ice, said to snatch away children who wandered too far from their homes. With greenish skin and a parka made of eider duck feathers, the kalupalik was as much a tool for safety as it was a character in a legend. More than a few adults, it said, still hesitated near thin ice, just in case her song could be heard below. But life in the Arctic was not only about survival, it was filled with humour, joy, and celebration. Songs were sung in throat-singing duets, two voices weaving together in mesmerising tones, both playful and powerful. These musical exchanges were often competitions, friendly and full of laughter, where one singer tried to outlast the other without breaking rhythm or breath. Imagine two women sitting close, faces nearly touching, their voices rising and falling like the wind over tundra. The sound is unfamiliar, yet deeply comforting, a lullaby from a place where breath is precious and every note echoes across ice and sky. It's a reminder that music doesn't need instruments to be felt. It only needs hearts willing to speak. Some Inuit even told tales of little people, known as the Inuit, who lived in hidden places and possessed mysterious powers. They were fast runners, strong and mischievous, capable of stealing fish or hiding tools, though always with a strange sense of humour. One story tells of an Inuit who got trapped in a cooking pot while trying to sneak a seal bone. The family who found him, amused rather than frightened, simply fed him and sent him on his way. It's the sort of tale that makes you smile and wonder what else may have moved just out of sight. Trade routes crisscrossed these frozen territories, and though distances were vast, the Inuit managed to maintain connections through bartering, storytelling, and shared wisdom. Items like copper, stone, and carved ivory travelled across these routes, passing through many hands, each leaving a trace of their journey behind. Some scholars suggest the possibility of ancient contact between Inuit and Norse explorers. Quiet debates swirl around Norse ruins in Greenland, and mentions in Viking sagas of Skraelings, dark-haired people dressed in fur who travelled by kayak. Whether these encounters were peaceful exchanges or wary observations remains uncertain. The Arctic, after all, holds many stories beneath its snow, and not all of them have been heard. As night blankets the tundra, the sky above comes alive. The northern lights ripple like silk in the heavens, green, violet, and rose-coloured ribbons that dance silently overhead. The Inuit believed the lights were spirits playing in the sky, or the souls of the departed chasing a walrus through the stars. Whatever the truth, they inspire the same awe today as they did 1,000 years ago. And as you sit beside an icy inlet, the cold air crisp and clean in your lungs, a quiet peace settles over you. A seal splashes in the distance. A fire crackles low beside a stone shelter. The world, though cold, feels welcoming. Tonight, as you close your eyes and let your thoughts drift beneath the auroras, carry with you the stories of Sedna, the laughter of throat singers, and the quiet strength of a people who turned one of the harshest climates into a place of beauty, warmth, and wisdom. In their legacy, we find a reminder. Even in the coldest places, life finds its rhythm, and stories, like stars, light the way. Now your path curves south again, into the temperate shores and valleys of what we now call California, a land of sunlight, seacoast, redwood groves, and mountain breezes. But long before those names or borders ever existed, this place was home to a tapestry of over 100 different tribes, each with their own languages, traditions, and relationship with the world around them. Here lived the Chumash, the Miwok, the Yokuts, and many others, people whose days began with the sound of waves meeting sand, and whose evenings ended with fires crackling beneath star-strewn skies. Coastal villages nestled between wildflower-covered hills and the glittering Pacific. Farther inland, riverbanks hosted woven homes of willow and tule reed, their thatched roofs swaying with the breeze. The Chumash, among the most well-known of these groups, navigated the ocean in canoes they built from redwood and pine planks. These boats, called tamols, were carefully sealed with natural tar and beautifully decorated with patterns passed down through generations. Imagine a clear morning where you step into a tamol, paddling through kelp forests as sea otters bob nearby, the rhythmic splash of water lulling you into calm. Historians continue to marvel at how the Chumash maintained one of the oldest maritime traditions in North America, despite lacking metal tools. Some even debate how far these boats may have traveled, pondering whether long-distance contact with Baja California or Pacific Islands was ever made. A few fringe theorists have even whispered ideas about Polynesian connections, though, as always, the truth remains cradled in mystery. Daily life in these communities moved with a peaceful rhythm. The people fished in clear estuaries, gathered acorns from oak trees, and crushed them into flour through patient grinding. They tended wild gardens, not by tilling, but by burning select areas and encouraging natural growth cycles. This was a kind of tending the land without disturbing its soul. A surprising fact, despite the absence of centralized governments, these tribes had intricate social codes. In Chumash society, for instance, there were respected leaders known as antap, spiritual specialists who oversaw ceremonies and resolved disputes. Their words carried weight not through force, but through inherited respect and wisdom. Historians still debate how much of this leadership was spiritual versus political, but to the people themselves, the distinction may never have mattered. Harmony was the goal, not power. And with harmony came stories. One Chumash legend tells of Hutash, the Earth Mother, who created the first people from seeds and cared for them as they grew. When the people multiplied and the island became too crowded, Hutash created a bridge of rainbow to lead them to the mainland. But as some looked down in fear while crossing, they fell into the sea. To save them, Hutash transformed them into dolphins, playful, intelligent, and always near. It's a story that still floats on the breeze along the coast, a myth woven so deeply into place that even now, some say dolphins approach humans because they remember what they once were. And in the mountains, other tales wandered. The Miwok people told stories of Silver Fox and Coyote, two creators who shaped the world with contrasting styles. Silver Fox was thoughtful and precise, Coyote impatient and full of impulsive energy. One tale recounts how Coyote, tired of waiting for Silver Fox's careful plans, flung stars into the night sky all at once, creating the Milky Way in a burst of frustration. It's hard not to smile at that image, chaos becoming beauty, impatience leaving its own kind of mark. Even in their humor, these stories carried depth. Coyote was foolish, but he taught through error. Silver Fox was wise but slow. The world needs both. Songs, too, drifted through the valleys and canyons. Flutes carved from elder branches played notes that echoed through the dusk. Dances told stories in movement, each step symbolic, each gesture tied to seasons, harvests, or memory. Some villages held sacred caves decorated with ancient paintings, red ochre figures, spirals, and suns, mysteries still studied today. Historians continue to ponder the meanings behind these markings. Were they maps, prayers, artistic dreams from forgotten minds? One cave near Santa Barbara, decorated with complex geometric shapes, is thought to be tied to Chumash astronomical knowledge. Some researchers believe it functioned like a celestial calendar, marking the solstice and equinox with shafts of light that pierced the chamber only at precise moments. But, as always, no one can say for certain. The cave remains quiet, patient, as if waiting for someone to understand it fully. Trade routes in California were vast and complex. Shell beads from the ocean traveled inland, obsidian from volcanic fields moved to the coast. These exchanges weren't just economic, they were cultural threads, tying communities together in mutual respect. Items passed from hand to hand, stories riding with them. And let us not forget the laughter. Families told jokes around the fire. Children were lovingly teased. Trickster animals, like Coyote again, popped up in tales meant to entertain while teaching. One tale tells of Coyote trying to cook acorns by tossing them directly into the fire, only to have them explode. He blames the acorns, not himself, and swears never to trust food again. He relents the next day, of course. Hunger always wins. Listeners laughed, but also remembered the moral. Listen to advice, or be prepared to learn the hard way. As twilight returns to these coastal valleys, the redwoods stand tall, their trunks glowing in the amber light. Fog begins to drift in from the sea, softening the shapes of homes, hills, and paths. A flute song drifts through the trees, and you imagine yourself sitting in the shelter of a round house, warmed by fire, your thoughts somewhere between dream and memory. The world here was never loud or fast. It moved with rhythm, with care, with story. Tonight, as your thoughts settle beneath this ancient canopy, remember Hutash and her rainbow bridge. Think of dolphins, once human, still curious. Think of Coyote, flinging stars like pebbles, and the quiet, thoughtful silver fox, still painting dreams behind him. California, before it was called that, was already a world rich with imagination, one that still lingers in wind and wave if you pause long enough to feel it. Now your journey crosses an ocean, though not as you might expect, not in ships with sails, nor with compass and chart. This voyage drifts upon the waves of wind and time, reaching a place where volcanoes rise from the sea, where islands float like emeralds scattered across a sapphire canvas. You've arrived in the lands of Hawaii, long before Western ships touched its shores, when the world here was guided by stars, ocean swells, chants, and myth. Imagine yourself standing on the black sands of a quiet beach, the warm surf brushing across your feet. Palm trees sway nearby, their fronds whispering stories passed down through generations. Behind you, the lush mountains shimmer with waterfalls. The air carries the scent of plumeria, sea salt, and rain, mingling into a fragrance that feels both ancient and alive. The early Polynesians who settled Hawaii arrived not by accident, but by skill. Long before maps or satellites, these navigators read the ocean like a book, guided by swells, seabird flight paths, star positions, and even the color of the sea itself. They crossed thousands of miles of open water in double-hulled canoes called wā kaulua, navigating without metal, compass, or written language. Historians still marvel at this mastery. Debate lingers over exactly when the first settlers arrived, some say as early as 300 CE, others later, but the legacy of those voyages remains undisputed. They were among the greatest seafarers the world has ever known. And with them, they carried stories. One of the most powerful is that of Pele, the goddess of volcanoes, fire, and creation. According to legend, Pele travelled from island to island in search of a home, carving out craters and lava flows with every step. Her final resting place was Halema Umaru crater on the Big Island, where she still dwells today, watching her islands with fiery breath and passionate temper. It's said that those who disrespect the land may feel her wrath, perhaps in a sudden change of weather, or the misfortune that follows someone who dares take a lava rock home. Indeed, park rangers still receive packages of returned rocks mailed anonymously by tourists who felt a streak of bad luck and wished to appease the goddess. A reminder that even today, myths live just beneath the surface. But Pele is not alone. Her siblings walk the islands too. Laka, goddess of hula and fertility, Kanaloa, god of the sea, Ku, of war and strength, and Lono, of peace, agriculture, and prosperity. Each played a role in the cycle of life. Each had stories whispered through chants, dances, and carvings. Every part of the land was sacred, every element alive with meaning. Hula, contrary to popular depiction, was never just dance. It was prayer in motion, story with rhythm. Every movement of the hand, every turn of the foot, held purpose. A single gesture could represent waves, wind, or the shape of a mountain. Hula was a way to remember, to honor, to invoke. It was performed in temples called heiau, often led by priests and spiritual leaders. And language, spoken or sung, carried weight. The Hawaiian language is soft and melodic, shaped by the ocean and wind. Words were more than sound, they were living energy, or mana. Naming something gave it power. Speaking something could make it real. This belief ran so deep that genealogies were memorized for generations, chanted at birth, marriage, and burial, reminding every soul of their place in the great web of life. In this world, humor had its place too. One story tells of the demigod Maui, who tried to slow down the sun. Tired of his mother's days being too short to dry her kapa cloth, Maui lassoed the sun with braided coconut fibre and convinced it to slow its journey across the sky. The sun, amused and a little impressed, agreed. And so, the days lengthened. There's another version where Maui attempts to fish up the islands of Hawaii. Standing in his canoe, he casts his magical hook deep into the sea. When the line pulls tight, he strains with all his might, chanting with each tug. One by one the islands rise from the depths. He tells his brothers not to look back, but of course one of them does. The line breaks, the islands scatter, and that's why they're spread out instead of being one single land. It's a tale that draws a grin, and a quiet nod to the clever way myths explain geography. Even food here was sacred. The lowy patches of taro glistened with water from mountain streams, tended with care and respect. Taro, or kalo, was believed to be the elder sibling of humankind, born from the same divine parents. Eating it was not just nourishment, it was communion. Feasts, called luo, were community celebrations of gratitude. People shared roasted pig, poi, sweet potatoes and breadfruit, sitting together on woven mats, laughter and music rising into the air. There was no need for formal speech. Everything was felt, understood. Presence was enough. Scholars still discuss the social structure of early Hawaiians: ali'i, chiefs; kahuna, priests; maka'ainana, commoners, each with responsibilities, none disconnected from the others. It was a system that for centuries maintained order, culture, and identity. And though the exact timelines remain under scholarly debate, the emotional architecture of the system endures: relationships, respect, and reverence for life itself. As dusk settles upon the Pacific, the ocean takes on the color of obsidian, stars slowly pricking the sky with light. From a canoe offshore, you watch the waves shimmer. Somewhere inland, a hula is being danced beside a fire. The chants float out over the water, their syllables carried on sea wind. And you, suspended between ocean and sky, feel the presence of the ancestors, those who navigated by stars, who chanted the world into being, who danced in honor of gods still walking the land. The islands are not just places, they are beings. They breathe, remember, and sing. Tonight, as you rest beneath the imaginary canopy of frangipani and starlight, carry with you the flame of Pele, the clever smile of Maui, and the rhythm of the ocean that once carried hope across thousands of miles. Hawaii, before colonization, was not just paradise. It was poetry written in stone, sea, and soul. From ocean waves and volcanic peaks, your journey now drifts back toward the center of the continent, this time to the winding, powerful arteries of North America's great rivers. Chief among them is the Mississippi, flowing thousands of miles through valleys once vibrant with culture, ceremony, and song. Here lived the people of the Mississippian culture, builders of cities, makers of mounds, and stewards of one of the most complex societies to rise on this land before European contact. The river winds slowly, its surface reflecting the sky like polished stone. Around it, wetlands stretch wide, rich with cattails and willows, and forest groves rise like watchful sentinels. Along these fertile banks, entire cities once flourished, places where thousands lived, worked, traded, worshipped, and dreamed. The most famous among them was Cahokia, near modern-day St. Louis. Imagine the year is somewhere around 1100 CE. You stand on the edge of a grand city. Children run laughing between timber homes, smoke curls from cooking fires, and at the center of it all towers Monk's Mound, a massive earthen platform larger at its base than the Great Pyramid of Giza. It rises in steady steps, layer upon layer of soil, shaped with intention and purpose. Scholars believe it may have taken decades, or even generations, to build. Atop the mound, a leader might sit in a wooden temple, watching over the rhythms of city life. Ceremonies would be held on the great plaza below. The people gathered not just to see their leaders, but to celebrate the turning of seasons, the arrival of harvests, or celestial events carefully tracked by observatories aligned with sun and moon. Historians still debate the exact functions of these mounds. Were they solely political, religious, ceremonial calendars? Perhaps all three. Fringe theories even whisper that Monk's Mound was part of a vast network of energy centers connected by ley lines, a notion more poetic than proven, but not entirely without wonder. The people here had no metal tools, no wheels, no domesticated horses, and yet they built a city more populous than London was at the time. They crafted tools from stone and bone, wove nets and baskets, and developed sophisticated systems of agriculture, growing maize, squash, and beans with care. Their trade routes extended far, stretching from the Great Lakes to the Gulf of Mexico. Copper from the north, shells from the coast, mica from the Appalachians, all passed through Cahokia's markets. The rivers weren't barriers, they were lifelines, highways of connection. Canoes drifted from town to town, bringing goods, ideas, and stories. One could imagine a trader carrying not just bundles of goods, but legends, songs, and news. Perhaps a new constellation had been seen in the sky. Perhaps a girl from one village danced in a way no one had seen before. Knowledge moved as fluidly as water. Of course, with people come stories. The river people told tales of serpent spirits who lived beneath the waters. The horned serpent, a creature of wisdom and danger, was said to guard the boundaries between worlds. In some stories, it offered guidance. In others, it had to be appeased. Children were warned not to swim alone after dusk, not just because of the current, but because the spirit might be watching and waiting. One of the most beautiful myths describes the river as the body of a sleeping god. Each twist and bend was the curve of its spine, each tributary a vein. To travel, it was to walk upon the dreaming thoughts of an ancient being. And if you moved enough, it was said, you could hear it breathe in the lapping of the waves. In more humorous tales, animals took center stage. There's one about a turtle who grew jealous of the herons, with their elegant legs and ability to fish from the shallows. Determined to outdo them, Turtle built a pair of stilts from driftwood and promptly fell over, landing on his back. Some gifts, the elder would chuckle, are not ours to claim. The story always brought laughter, but also served as a reminder. Pride needs balance. Even with their sophisticated culture, Cahokia and other Mississippian cities declined over time. By 1350, many of the mounds stood quiet, the plazas empty. The reasons remain unclear. Climate change, overfarming, social unrest. Historians continue to sift through these possibilities, but as always, the absence of answers only adds to the mystery. Some descendants of the Mississippian people, such as the Natchez, still carried echoes of these ancient customs well into the contact era. Their oral histories preserved fragments of an earlier world, one shaped by rhythm, ceremony, and rivers that remembered everything. As twilight falls over the Mississippi Valley, imagine the sky painted in rich oranges and purples. The river glistens with soft reflections of dusk, flowing past mounds whose edges have softened with time. A heron stands still in the reeds, its silhouette unmoving, like a statue carved from sky. You sit by the water's edge. The air is warm, thick with the scent of damp earth and summer growth. Somewhere nearby, a child laughs. A drumbeat sounds faintly in the distance, slow, steady, echoing a heartbeat. The land remembers. Tonight, as you rest beside these timeless waters, hold close the stories of the river. Remember the builders of Cahokia, the legends of serpents and sleeping gods, the laughter of turtles and children alike. You've now wandered far and wide, across forests and deserts, mountains and islands, rivers and ice. But before we close our journey, there is one last place to visit. It is not bound by geography or by time, not a single village or civilization, but the quiet space in between, a patchwork of memory, culture, and human emotion. The unseen web that once tied all of these worlds together, the spirit of pre-colonial North America. Here you find yourself not in a single landscape, but many. One moment, the scent of pine smoke lingers. The next, your feet brush warm sand or cold tundra. You hear a drumbeat that could belong to a Lakota gathering, or the pounding of waves against a Hawaiian canoe. You see a figure weaving a blanket in the southwest, while just beyond them, someone tends to rice paddies in the northeast, or casts a fishing net into the Pacific. Each of these people lived not as separate threads, but as parts of a living, breathing quilt, stitched together by land, sky, and story. Their worlds were filled with meaning. Mountains were ancestors, stars were storytellers, wind carried voices, and rivers sang lullabies. Whether on a cliff in Mesa Verde or a canoe in the Mississippi, whether building a mound, dancing in a circle, or carving a story into bark, they were doing more than surviving, they were belonging. Not to a nation, but to a world that recognized them, responded to them, remembered them. And their knowledge ran deep. Many of these communities tracked the stars with the accuracy of astronomers, navigated oceans like mathematicians, and cultivated plants like scientists. Yet they spoke of these things not in formulas or theories, but in metaphor, song, and prayer. They didn't merely record the moon's cycle, they called her grandmother. They didn't map currents, they listened to them. Historians still argue whether the democratic ideas of the Iroquois Confederacy influenced the US Constitution. Others debate whether the Polynesian sailors reached the shores of the Americas before Columbus. Some wonder if stories preserved by oral tradition contain hidden references to comet strikes or ancient migrations. The truth? We may never know for certain, but perhaps that's not the point. The mystery itself is sacred. What we do know is that these cultures were complex, diverse, and emotionally rich. They built cities, developed trade routes, created art, and passed on stories that still live today. Yet the modern world so often forgets their presence before colonization, as if history began only when ships dropped anchor or when flags were raised. But the truth runs deeper, older, more rooted. And yes, not everything was perfect. No society ever is. There were disputes, rivalries, moments of struggle and scarcity, but even those moments were faced with deep reservoirs of resilience. When winters came, they huddled together in longhouses, in tipis, in sod huts and igloos, not just for warmth, but for story, song, and memory. When droughts came, they prayed. When animals vanished, they negotiated with spirit worlds. When laughter faded, it was brought back by tricksters like Coyote or Raven, whose tales made children giggle and adults nod in quiet recognition. Even today, you can still feel echoes of those lives. In the way a fire crackles beneath a night sky. In the rhythm of a drum at a powwow. In the whispered tales told to children under blankets, where animals talk and mountains remember. In the returning starlight that was once tossed by Maui, or the dolphins who still seem to smile at passing boats. And though colonization would bring change, tremendous, painful change, it could never fully erase the soul of what came before. The spirit of those who lived in balance with land and sky still moves through the forests, still walks across rivers, still dances at the edge of memory. So tonight, as your journey draws to a close, picture yourself sitting by a fire, not alone, but among the voices of many. They speak different languages, they wear different clothes, they come from different geographies, but they are part of the same story. A story older than borders, older than history books. A story of how people once lived with the earth, not on top of it. And maybe, just maybe, by remembering them, we're not only honouring the past, but asking how to walk forward in a way that brings us closer to home. Let your breath slow now. Sink a little deeper into your pillow or your chair. Let the last threads of this story wrap around you like a woven blanket passed down through generations. You have journeyed through time and across a continent, not through wars or conquests, but through lives. Through morning rituals, whispered myths, campfire jokes, carved canoes, painted walls, and sacred dances. Through the hands that planted maize beside riverbanks. Through the eyes that studied the stars without naming them. Through voices that sang lullabies in languages nearly forgotten, but never lost. You've stood beneath redwoods and thunderclouds, Watched whales rise through the mist, heard songs echo through longhouses and over snowy ridgelines, all of it waiting beneath the surface, like roots in frozen earth, ready to bloom when remembered. Tonight, carry with you the slow rhythm of this land before it was renamed. Let it stay with you, in your breath, your imagination, your dreams. And if you wake in the middle of the night and it's quiet, maybe listen. The wind might still be singing one of those stories, the ones that came before.